Hello, everyone. It's Alex with Muddy Waters.
And I'm Dan.
Hope everybody has had a good weekend and stay warm because it's getting pretty cold pretty quick.
Yes, it is.
I know up here it's been cold, and Dan was just telling me how chilly it's been down there. So, but first thing is first. Congratulations to Dennis and Megan on their wedding yesterday.
Definitely.
It was a good wedding. It was just so cold up here. It was very windy and cool and everything. But yes, they are now married. So give them everything, and everybody wish them happiness and love and joy and everything, because they're a great couple. So
yeah.
So the discussion of tonight's topic is this flyer that was sent to us this week. And it kind of caught us off guard a little bit.
Yes, it did.
We had been talking about it, going back and forth, but first thing, we're just going to do a little refresh on Randy's case for everybody. So just so everybody kind of knows, which everybody here I know is familiar with, Randy's stuff. So, but here we go. So Randy Wayne Leach is from Linwood, Kansas, and he went missing on April 15th of 1988. Randy had been out with a friend, and then ended up going to a graduation party not too far from Linwood, Kansas. So Randy was a student of Linwood High School. And if you by chance look up, anything about the schools and stuff out, in Kansas with Linwood, the last year of Linwood High School was Randy's senior year, 1988. 1989 was the first year of the combined school districts of Linwood and Basehor, Kansas. That was my freshman year. I was a freshman that year at Basehor. So in case anybody ever, is doing any research and they don't quite, understand that. So just once again, 1988 was the last year of Linwood High School. 1989 was the first year of the combined districts where it became Basehor Linwood High School. So Randy's birthday, 7/25/1970. He was 17 years old when he went missing. He was 6'3", 220 pounds. The last reported clothing that Randy had on the night of his disappearance was a blue pocket t-shirt, blue Levi jeans, white low-cut sneakers with white socks. That night, Randy was driving his mother's 1985 Dodge 600 gray sedan. It was a four-door sedan car. Kansas license plate LVJ 8721. This car was Randy's mother, Alberta. It was her, what we all believe to be her main transportation. And it was also the car that she drove for work, that she was a mail carrier. So Randy is a Caucasian male, white. He had brown hair, blue eyes. Randy had a mole on his left ear. So, Randy basically left home 6:30. He had went to a body shop where his parents were having a it was a 1965 or 66 Mustang that was at a body shop being restored. But he had went there, checked it out, and then he went to a Stout's convenience store, which was at that time, I believe, was the only gas station convenience store in the town of Linwood, Kansas. After he had been there, he arrived at the party sometime 9:30, 10 o'clock, give or take. And he supposedly was in his mother's car. There's so many different variations to how many people was at the party and when he left. I mean, upwards of a couple hundred guests probably. People say that he could have left between 1 and 2:30 at this point. Randy was reported missing the next morning, April 16th. He had a curfew of 12:30 a.m. And I believe for the most part, he always honored the curfew with his parents. He had a very, what seemed to be a, very good relationship. And if he stayed out late or something, I think they were very understanding. Or if they had to come pick him up, I'm sure that was, the understanding. And I believe it always worked out good. So I would assume that the next morning when they got up and he wasn't there, yes, they were, upset and trying to understand what was going on. So basically, like we said, the majority of you, everybody knows the story. Everybody has followed this. So this has gone on for years and years. And as of this date, Randy has not been found. The car has never been found. But this week, we received a flyer that somebody had forwarded us, and I'm going to let Dan take over because Dan is our main research specialist. Dan really digs into this information. So maybe, Dan can share with us all the previous flyers and then this new flyer, and we can break it down so everybody understands kind of what's going on here.
Okay, so there has been numbers of flyers, but we'll start with the two law enforcement ones. First, you had KBI offering a $5,000 governor's reward. Then another flyer came about where it was labeled KBI and said foul play was involved, but the flyer really didn't look like a KBI flyer. The logo and everything seemed like somebody made the flyer, but I'm not saying that's exactly what happened, but it is possible. And then here recently, aside from just regular people making flyers trying to help out, there was a new flyer that was brought to our attention that stated that the case was converted from a missing persons case to a homicide investigation. So I made a few phone calls, and this is not to discredit nobody. This is not to say that it's not possible. But as of right now, according to multiple people within the law enforcement, both federal and local, this is still a missing persons case. This was not ruled to be a homicide investigation. Now, I know people don't like the way law enforcement handled it, but you got to remember, the law enforcement back then is not the law enforcement that's handling it right now.
That is correct.
So you guys got to give this new detective a chance. I spoke with him on the phone. He's very respectful, very polite. He wants nothing but the best outcome for this family. He wants Randy found.
Absolutely.
Regardless of what outcome it is, he wants Randy found. It's been far too long. I spoke with him a good I won't say 30 minutes, 45 minutes. He's a great guy. I mean, don't discredit him. I know a lot of people are going to not like this, but it is not a homicide investigation.
So, according to the contact that you have spoke with law enforcement, he is saying it's still listed as a missing persons case. It has not been switched to homicide.
No,
Correct?
he has not been switched to homicide ever.
Okay. So I guess our discussion is how does this affect us, Dan, and everybody else that's looking for Randy, everybody that's doing thing? How does this affect us moving forward with our investigative work through open source?
Well, see, the fact that they're trying to, and I'm not discrediting whoever made the flyer, but hindering an investigation by redirecting tips is a very, very bad idea, especially when it comes to the time when Randy is found and the tips come from a third party source. And when you get into court and they try to use that tip as evidence, it's going to get thrown out because it's hearsay.
Yes.
It is not, the tip did not go straight to law enforcement. All tips need to go to law enforcement, not nobody else. Now, if people have a location that needs searched, that's a totally different idea. But as far as knowing exactly what happened, exactly who did what, yes, hang on, Jen. They don't need a body. They just need evidence, proof that it is a homicide case. He did say they're not ruling anything out as far as his case, but it is in fact a missing persons case. It's not a homicide investigation.
So I guess in one way is technically at this moment we do not know who made the flyer.
No.
But the flyer was shared with us and it is been posted on the main Randy Leach. I think it's In Search of Randy Leach page, which I would believe is done by the family and friends,
Correct.
of that group. But it was on their page and it was shared with us.
Correct. And I did get permission from the creator of the group to share the flyer.
Yes.
So, yes, it was on Facebook. But to redirect tips to a family member, because that is whose number was on the flyer, is way wrong to do. And I'm not harping on the family for doing it. I'm not harping on whoever made the flyer. Can tips or evidence collected by it has to be a licensed private investigator with a license, a certified private investigator, and
But
he has to go through um, um, in order for you got to take courses on evidence collection, evidence preservation. The best thing to do is if you see evidence, proof, his car, skeletal remains, something he was wearing at that time, don't touch it. Call law enforcement immediately.
mm-hmm.
It has to go straight to law enforcement. That way they can get CSI out there and collect it properly so there's no contamination of DNA, no cross contamination of chemicals on your body. there has to be a specific way the evidence is collected to preserve it and make it stick up in court, because they can throw it out when they say somebody else collected it. They can throw it out just on basis it was not collected properly, and it would get thrown out instantly.
But I guess in my mind, and I don't know, maybe this is silly of me saying it, but my thoughts are that's a pretty big situation to change on somebody's behalf.
Yes.
And I would think that local law enforcement, on a federal level, KBI, Leavenworth County, I figured for a flyer to say that would have to be the information that was given to the family for the family to change it.
Yep.
And I'm not saying, we don't know, because like we said, this was shared to us. We have been dissecting it. You made some phone calls. You reached out to the Facebook page asking if we could share it, so on and so forth. So we're just trying to understand at this point in the investigation of Randy's disappearance, has something been uncovered that now there is beyond reasonable shadow of doubt that they have proof that it is now this, even though we do not have a body, we do not have the car, but we now have proof that it can be changed to this wording from missing person to a homicide.
Okay, so according to the officers I spoke with, they have no reason to believe it is a homicide. They have no evidence connecting it to a homicide yet. They do not rule it out. Do I know how? When the new sheriff took place, Dennis might know.
Yeah, and I think Dennis is in the background.
Dennis might be in the chat. He's also spoke with the one of the officers as well. But he told me there is no evidence pointing to a homicide that would give them cause to be able to change it over to homicide. As of right now, they have to keep it as a missing persons case until they get the proper evidence that would be supported as probable cause to change it over to a homicide investigation. Right now, they don't have that.
I was going to say, at this point, there was nothing by your conversation and Dennis's conversation for them to basically say, yes, we have stuff, we just haven't switched it. It was clearly, no, we do not. It's still straight across a missing persons case.
Yes. Law enforcement has not changed it at all. They don't have the proof to change it. All they've got is theories, speculation, and none of that can be proven. It has to be able to be proven. It has to be evidence. It has to be proof.
Yes.
That a crime occurred.
Yes. And by all means, we are not trying to stir the pot, nothing like that. We are trying to do is we're trying to understand what is being presented, because it's been brought to our attention and people are asking us questions, and we need to understand what is going on, and that's why phone calls were made.
Yeah.
That's why a message was sent to that Facebook page asking if the flyer could be shared. Because we just want to understand. We want to have answers, and we want to be able to give people answers as to, hey, has something been found? Did another group find something? Did you guys find something? Blah blah blah. And we're just trying to understand ourselves, share it with everyone publicly, that way people are all on the same page and understanding of what's been going on. So
yes, anytime a tip does not go straight to law enforcement, It hinders the investigation. It compromises the investigation. And especially if they put on the flyer, you can remain anonymous. That's third party information. That's hearsay. It will not stand up in court. I don't know why it was put on there. I don't know who put it on there, but that isn't a smart way to go.
And I don't believe anywhere else I have ever seen it being, not to say advertised, but I don't see that wording homicide anywhere else. Everything is still listed as missing persons, missing person case. The flyer is the only thing that shows the word homicide on
yes,
it. So
that and the comment section where apparently it was somebody said that it was switched to a homicide investigation in 2002. That is not correct. As for Mark, maybe the family don't trust law enforcement. Mark, unfortunately, they're gonna have to, because they can't solve the case themselves. They can't put the person through court. They can't collect evidence properly. Only if it's submitted to law enforcement, Jen. Not if it's submitted to the family. The family can't say we received a tip on our tip line and here's the tip. Maybe they don't care at this point. They should care because they've got a new detective handling this case that wants Randy found.
yeah,
I know there's a big discrepancy about previous detectives handling the case, and I don't doubt that.
I think something else people have to understand is, Randy's case has gone on a long time, and I can't say 100%, but I guarantee the majority of the people that were in law enforcement back then have probably retired. And yes, it is a whole probably different group of law enforcement manpower that is working the case because of the age of it. I mean, 30 years, you got to think 30 years, a lot of people retire. I mean, and if people were, been in law enforcement for a while when Randy went missing, and by now they would probably be at the end of their career or they have already, retired. So, I mean, yeah, I would say there's been a lot of new people involved in the case and moving forward with it and trying to solve it and bring,
Let me answer True Crime. True Crime, you don't need a body to be able to declare it a homicide. You need evidence. They don't need a body.
I mean, I kind of thought the same way that if you're saying that, I would think you'd have to have the body, but unless there was,
If they
video proof, picture proof, because that was my thing. Could hearsay be used? But I mean, let's be honest.
no.
That's all this has ever been, has been hearsay for the most part. That so and so did it. This person did it. This person did it. This person done it. I mean, we've all heard the thousands of rumors of why Randy is not here with us.
Right.
You
They need specific types of evidence, whether it be DNA evidence, a weapon, even a real statement might be enough, but it has to be a proven statement where they are able to give descriptive details that only law enforcement would know, or the person that actually was there or was involved.
yeah. I mean, it's definitely been something that we've been discussing, for a few days now, and trying to see what's going on. Is we've been answering questions too, and um, we just everybody's just trying to understand what has happened for this flyer to be released publicly that shows that it's not a missing persons case no more. And excuse me, that it's not a missing persons case anymore. That it is a homicide, officially a homicide. So
Yeah, so I don't know who created that flyer. I do know law enforcement did not give anybody any information stating that it was moved to a homicide. I know that for a fact.
and Dan, can you tell us um, what the actual term homicide actually means, like a uh, like the actual legal definition of it, so people can understand it?
Basically, a homicide is when someone is murdered. It's not a wrongful death. It's not. You got different levels of homicide: first degree, second degree, so on and so forth. In order for them to be able to prove each one, they have to have specific evidence for each one. First degree, they have to prove premeditation. Second degree, they just have to prove that person had the intent to inflict death.
Uh-huh.
Manslaughter, involuntary manslaughter, you keep going down the list. It's different things. Manslaughter is not intentional, but it did cause death. Involuntary means, say you got into a fight with somebody and you hit them the wrong way and they passed.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's no evidence of it being homicide.
So is there anyone else that could be contacted besides directly talking to the family or the organization representatives? I mean,
Yes.
law enforcement wise, is there any other
They need to contact Leavenworth County Sheriff's Department or KBI. Them
okay.
are the only two you need to be contacting if you have tips. I don't even think they got a Crime Stoppers number yet up for his case.
Yeah.
But KBI and Leavenworth County Sheriff's Department are the two places you submit tips to.
Okay.
Now, that doesn't mean, say, hey, I got an area that looks like there might be a vehicle. That kind of a tip can be submitted to us or any search team,
Yeah.
not specifically us. So they can get a boat in the water or go search the ground.
Well,
But it has to be people that are licensed to do it.
yeah. Well, I know this week, I believe that a few leads were sent in with other locations of interest. Um, and I know they need to be looked at, whether it's Google Earth, drones, boots on the ground. So Mark wrote, Sheriff, been on this for the last decade. The family seems to be shaking the tree a bit with the flyer. Good for them. By doing this, they have the channel with 35 people in the chat talking about it. I mean, it's absolutely,
Yes, but it's the wrong way to go about it.
Yes.
Redirecting the tips to go to Alberta's phone number, because that is Alberta's phone number. I did a background check to confirm it. Redirecting tips to go to her number is not the way to go.
Mark wrote, it has people calling the sheriff and talking about Randy. When you spoke with them, or if Dennis answers, if he's, I'm sure, I mean, I know Dennis is watching. Um, did they have anything to say if stuff is coming in currently? Has there been any calls, tips,
No.
anything at all? Did they relay any of that, or would they relay any of that?
He said that hearing about that flyer was new to him. He knew nothing about it. So, our phone call was the only one he received about the flyer, about Randy's case.
Okay. I'm reading comments up here on the computer screen.
Mind of Monsters. Hang on. This is the name of the group. I just typed it in.
I'm on KBI's website. I want to see what it's showing on Randy's stuff currently, as of right now. Let's see.
Karen. No, that is not correct. Saying someone is missing implies they might be murdered. No, that is not correct. Saying someone is missing means they are missing. There has been multiple people found 20, 30 years after they went missing that are still alive.
So, as of right now, I am looking. Randy is still being shown in the missing section on KBI.
Yes, he is.
And I have no idea, if it was switched to a homicide. At that point, would they remove it or would they leave it? Because
they would move it over to their homicide page. They have a homicide page.
I see.
Previously, what's her name? One of our other cases was just transferred on KBI over to homicide, but I forgot her name.
And I am on the Charlie Project page, and I'm on Randy's, and it says updated 12 times since October 12th, 2004. Last updated April 15th, 2023. 2 pictures added. So, at this current time, even on the Charlie Project, they're still showing it as missing. They're showing Randy's case as a missing case.
Dennis just mentioned the name I was trying to get off the top of my tongue. Yes, that is the name, Star Boomer. When they got enough evidence to prove that Star Boomer was, in fact, murdered, they moved her off the missing persons site and over to homicide.
And that just happened
this year, I think. This year or last year?
I thought just a couple months ago.
Yeah, it was recent.
That Dennis, and we had talked about her because Dennis actually knew Star. Dennis was friends with, relatives of her family, and Dennis actually met her.
Freezing up.
So I'm freezing up?
Yeah, it keeps looping like it's going to shut down.
Uh-oh. but for the most part, Dennis has stayed, on top of that case because of, you know, the relationship and stuff. So yeah. So I mean, going off of that, just star stuff, that I mean, it proves that they do move cases, over if they have evidence, information to do it.
Yep.
And of course, Star's body has never been found.
No. They don't need a body to prove homicide.
And the location where Star went missing from, that whole situation, that place is now a parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff in our group, Jeff actually went over there one day. He was in the area and he sent us video, and it's a asphalt parking lot now. I think it's asphalt, if I remember right. I don't think it was gravel. I think it was turned into a asphalt parking lot. So yeah, I mean, we do know that stuff does happen. So
now I'm gonna answer Jen's question real quick. Normally law enforcement don't make public statements about cases unless they got a new lead that is promising, and then they'll come on and make a public address about it. There's even times they don't make a public address just to protect the investigation.
I mean, I would think as long as Randy's case has been going on, if I guess maybe not, then I would think that they would come out and let the information. But if it's, I guess if it was leaning towards somebody that was in jail, they might. But if, what was going on and it was not someone who was in jail, then I guess it would be in the best interest not to say anything.
Yeah, I mean, the last thing they want to do is hinder their investigation. They don't want the person that did it to run.
Oh yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it really does.
And don't mistake anything I'm saying. Nobody's saying he wasn't murdered. We're saying it has not been ruled that by law enforcement.
Yeah. Yeah, because
they don't have no evidence to substantiate a homicide yet.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe something will become of this in the next, few weeks. Maybe something will be released. But I would kind of think if this was the case, I would think that the flyer technically should have never been released then. It should have never, because that's clearly jumping the gun, and that's basically saying, we got something going on here. This is being changed. I guess back to my comment that maybe you wouldn't want to say anything. It shouldn't have, I just, my question and the things that we had discussed is who gave who the authority to make the flyer with that terminology, word usage on it, whether or not it's been changed or not, because, to the wrong person, it could be misleading, and how investigators are looking at it from here on out.
Now, I do need to speak about something else.
Okay.
The news stations that are promoting that Randy was no longer with us, that he was dead, that their family was turned down in their case to get evidence of his wrongful death and stuff like that, they need to stop. They're putting out false information, none of which has been confirmed by law enforcement. Law enforcement specifically said this is not a death investigation. This is not a homicide investigation. This is a missing persons investigation. Point blank, period.
And technically, death cannot be proven unless there's a body. So otherwise, still proven to be alive.
Well, no, after a certain amount of years, the family can go to the court and request that he be deemed no longer alive, but that will not change it to a homicide.
And I believe this. The Leaches did do this with Randy, correct?
Not that I'm aware.
I don't. Maybe Jen can answer that question if Jen's still on here with us, or Dennis. I mean, Dennis or Jen. I honestly do not remember that answer. Because I also thought at some point there was a headstone or something. So.
Mark, they have not released that information.
So, Jen, the question was, has Randy been declared dead by Alberta and Harold? I don't remember. I don't think Dennis remembers. But do you know, by chance, the answer to that question? If Randy has legally been declared deceased? I thought at one time I saw something about a discussion of a headstone somewhere, but I don't remember.
Hang on, there's a comment.
Ponytail wrote, well, what's the verbiage used in the update on the official search page of some students taking on the evidence to start investigating with new eyes? Have no idea. I am actually banned from the main page. If I want to go look at the page, I have to log in through Muddy Waters to go look at it. But as my name, me being able, I was a member of the page, but then I was removed.
Okay, so Dennis said 2001. Aaron said 2002. And as for the school doing investigations, it's not going to benefit the case if they do.
Is Leanne on tonight with us?
I think so.
I didn't.
I see somebody saying, hey, Grape Ape.
Yeah, Cam wrote, hi, Grape Ape. So. Oh, there she is. She said hi back to Cam. So I guess we could reach out and just ask Leanne. Leanne,
He's right here.
Have you seen this flyer? Have you heard anything?
Leanne's in the chat.
Also with Ponytail. I mean,
now Dennis did post something.
Mark's asking Leanne if he had heard anything on Lee Ayers' case with everything that happened to Lee.
Yeah, whether it was ruled a murder or a suicide. Hey, Lisa.
So Leanne, what's your thoughts on the flyer? Samantha, the updates on the ground penetrating sonar. It's still at the dealership. Why was I removed from the group? I was removed from the group, from what I gather. Um, there was discussions about the magnetometer and looking for the car being buried in the bottom of creek beds in the river. I had brought up my thoughts on the situation, on what it would take to unearth something. Um, and a lot of people didn't like what I had to say, my opinion. Um, and even Jared from Adventures with Purpose, he didn't like what I had to say about it either. And my whole thought was, if you go out into the middle of the river or in the middle of the creek and you get a hit, unless you, was I being a bad boy? I don't know. If you were to go out and get a hit with the the magnetometer is going to hit on a large metal object. That does not tell you that it's a 1985 Dodge 600 four-door sedan.
No.
It's going to tell you that it's hitting on a large metal object.
Mm-hmm.
And to basically go out there and try then to determine what this object is, I went on Google Earth. I basically came up with some pictures of shoring and what it would require to surround an area, pump the water out, and then to dig up the dirt, exhume what was there. And my thoughts is who's going to pay for all this? Who
Right.
finally is going to step up and pay for this? This expense.
Right. Let me answer Leanne real quick. She had a statement. She
Okay.
said she knew in her heart Randy was murdered. Leanne, he was not ruled as homicide. He is still listed as a missing person. I don't disagree with that second comment though. But I'll keep my 2 cents to myself on him because we don't want him going after us for slander or defamation. So, but Randy's case is still a missing persons case. It was never ruled a homicide investigation, even when the family wanted him declared dead. It was still not transferred to homicide because there's no evidence of homicide yet.
And I think the comments when all this stuff happened with Jared and the stuff that was said about me, this was all before all that stuff happened with Jared, I believe. Mm-hmm. And I had actually looked at some of evidence that and reached out to Jared multiple times. I mean, I've reached out to him when he was here looking for Randy. Some other cases. They were looking for a girl who was missing in the river, and to me, it looked like she was, they were showing underwater video footage, and it looked like this girl's body was caught in the trees, and she was already deteriorating, and the creatures of the river creek had already been doing their thing. And I had talked to him and stuff, and like I said, I wasn't trying by any means to bash anybody, and I wasn't calling anybody stupid or anything like that. My thought is who's going to pay for this extreme costly adventure to shore up a creek or the river, bring in the correct type of equipment to do this, excavation work, and who's going to pay for the whatever would be needed to get permission, that whole thing. And I just think it upset people. And soon after that, I was, someone made a comment and I went to go look and I couldn't find the the Facebook page. And I went back and I couldn't find it. And I'm like, what the heck? And so I said something to Dennis. Dennis went and looked. He's like, yeah, it's there. And I'm like, well, I can't find it. And I was like, what the heck? So I logged in as Muddy Waters and I went right to it. And that pretty much told me that I had been removed and banned from the page.
Mm-hmm.
And it could have been also another situation where, a lot of people know. And once again, this is not, I'm not talking crap on anybody by any means. And most of you know that I have done as much as I can looking for Randy. And I spent quite a bit of money, doing the digital billboards on I-70. I was the one paying for that out of my pocket. I've spent a tremendous amount of money out of my own pocket paying for it. And I think there was a conversation on another page, thanking the family for, putting up the digital billboard on I-70 by the, I think it's the Hollywood Casino by the racetrack.
Mm-hmm.
And I intervened and said, I'm the one paying for that. Every week that you see that on I-70, that's my money that pays for those digital billboards. And so, that might have been a part of it too, because that all happened, really within the same week or two when all that stuff happened. So, but, I don't know. But yeah, I think someday that, for the most part, GPR, there's so many locations that do need to be searched because there's been so many rivers, so many rumors that the car was buried,
Right.
and that's just something, we have to have. We have to have it in order to go look. So, but time, that'll come in time, just like everything else will come in time. So, and we have so many cases, and we go over this once or twice a month.
Over 200 cases.
And out of those 200 cases, Dan, and I know Dennis is on here in the background, but I mean, legitimately, how many of those cases do you believe require GPR to get anywhere in those cases?
30 to 40%.
So 30 to 40% of these cases are basically someone who has been, buried, placed in concrete, under concrete, underneath a basement floor, a driveway, a sidewalk,
buried in the woods.
Yeah, I mean, just so many cases. So Samantha writes, can we start a fund for the GPR?
We do have a GoFundMe account. It is linked to our Facebook page. I believe Dennis set it up.
Yes.
But I think Dennis can also tag it in here.
Yes. If Dennis can share that, that would be awesome. But yeah, I mean, like I said, the thing is everybody wants to bring closure to this. you know, um, for Randy's case, for Randy.
Crystal
I,
Kipper, the Springfield 3,
yeah,
Star Boomer.
yeah,
I mean, you can go on and on down the list
yeah,
of cases that need GPR.
yeah. And we will have it. We will have it one of
Mhm.
these days. Um, it will happen. So Mark wrote, Leanne, any new contacts with Flanagan, Bishops, or Irwins? I think you still live in the area. Any chance the Burns brothers would talk to this group about that night?
They would need to talk to law enforcement.
Oh, there's the GoFundMe link right there.
Yeah, there you go. You'll have to copy it and put it into your Google search bar because it doesn't look like it's a clickable link. Yeah, it's not a clickable link.
Looks like
Alex would have to, I think, put it in that chat
yeah.
because you started to. But it is tagged to our Facebook page, I believe. I know it's in my TikTok account.
True crime. She wrote the Springfield 3 case is one that always interested me.
Yes, and true crime. GPR is what showed the location of them three. And unfortunately, they don't consider it to be enough to uh, destroy the location that they're in.
So when we came back in August, the end of August, looking for Mark Fullerton, we stayed in Springfield, and Tammy and I was going to go to the hospital to the parking lot, and we were going to go live and do a quick 15-minute video from there, but we were short on time. I had to go look at a piece of equipment in Springfield that was supposed to look at on the way out of town, but I didn't make it because we went a different way to the location for Mark's case. But on the way home, I came back, through the Springfield way to go. We stayed the night. We got up, and we just ran out of time because we went to some antique stores while we were there. But we were gonna go and do to the hospital parking lot because we were only like a mile and a half from there, but we just ran out of time to go. But we had all intentions of doing a quick little video from that location where supposedly those three ladies are supposedly in that parking lot area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they did use GPR, and they did find three sections that measured exactly like the size of a person.
And they make they make another radar unit. It's somewhat similar to GPR, but it is basically used for concrete where you hold it on the concrete and you go like this and you scan the concrete and you can tell where there is voids or you
Mm-hmm.
can tell where rebar is or pipe. And it's basically for drilling structural situations where the concrete might not have flowed to the right area and they're looking for air pockets. Those are considerably way cheaper. Even Milwaukee makes one.
Yeah, but what's the size of them, and can they go on the ground?
They're only literally they're a handheld unit that's like I'm trying to find something here. I'm looking right around my desk if I have any. Okay, here we go. So it would basically be about the size of this with a handle, and then of course a cord going to a screen, and it's got wheels on the bottom, and you just roll it back and forth along the concrete.
Now, how would that fare if you gotta pull it across uneven like terrain and grass and stuff like that?
Say that again. I didn't quite hear you, Dan.
Say, for example, you need to use it out in the wilderness to look underground for remains.
That thought has clearly crossed my mind. I'm like, why do I got to spend X amount of dollars when I can spend this little amount of dollars? The thing is I haven't seen anybody else try to use it. That doesn't mean that it wouldn't work. But I just think the way it works, it's meant to be used on concrete and to roll along concrete. I don't remember if I ever saw like the thickness that it would work on concrete. I just know that they say if you need to drill in concrete, you can see rebar, you can see pipe, you can see you can look for voids in concrete, like if you're pouring in a sonotube or a boxed in like a pillar or support, and maybe the concrete didn't go all the way through the rebar and it caused a void. It will detect voids.
You got a question?
Would that be Jen? Can you rent one and experiment? Absolutely. You can rent them, and you can rent the GPR units. We've talked about that many a times. That you absolutely can. You can do that. But we had a lead come in a while back. It's been a year and a half ago that supposedly Randy had been dismembered, and that some of his body parts had been put in buckets of concrete or something and thrown in the water. And I had discussed this with Dennis, and we actually discussed the Milwaukee concrete scanner, because I said, well, geez, if we could, get one of these tools, and if we could go to this creek, this location, if we could actually find concrete laying in the bottom of the creek, we could get it out to the bank. All we'd have to do is run the scanner over it. And this is something that I've discussed with Dennis, and if he's on here, he'll probably chime in on it.
Yeah, but the question is it water resistant?
Well, we wouldn't do it in the water.
Okay.
We would have to drag the pieces out to the bank. Now, to me, I don't know. I know there's concrete underwater, and I'm sure you have to drill underwater. So there's a possibility it could be, work underwater. I don't know. But, I had discussed with Dennis, is how does decomposition work with a body if it's in concrete? And he said that I think it was the gypsum or something else in the concrete. It basically, decay, it does deteriorate, but it would leave the shapes of what was once there. That some of the stuff in concrete, would do this. So yes, once again, if the body parts had decomposed, there was nothing there, you could possibly see the
well, we can talk about the decomposing, because we had that comment, that situation before, and I looked it up. they have found remains in water 40 years after the person went missing, still intact.
Yeah.
So, being able to find his remains in water intact is still plausible, without a doubt, even if it wasn't encased in concrete.
So Natasha's, making some comments and stuff. It's just, the thing is all these, all this stuff costs so much money.
Uh-huh.
There's certain specific companies that have this stuff. And, I had reached out to a rental company that rented GPRs, and this was after COVID. And I had reached out to them. I didn't tell them what I was going to use it for. I basically was leading to the understanding that I needed to use it for utility work, for digging trenches, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Didn't want to say I was looking for missing people. So I reached out. I looked at the stuff that they offered, and they offered 2 or 3 different ones, and they all work on depth. And the third option was this machine that they base in this company. You rented it, you did a deposit, you of course had to have insurance, and you rent it, they overnight the machine to you, you use it for however many days, and you have to have it back in the mail being shipped by a certain date. If the machine comes back and there's damages, then you have to claim it on your insurance, blah 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 blah. So the third machine that went to like a depth of 30 feet, they actually send a technician out, and you have to provide room and board. You have to provide all the meals for this technician, because this technician has to run this GPR unit. So they're not cheap by any means. But basically, I filled it out. I didn't hear back from them. About a week later, well, maybe 3 or 4 days later, I reached out to them again, trying to rent one, and they called me. And the guy's like, hey, I'm giving you a call back. I've seen you've put in a rental request. I want to talk to you. Maybe, you need a different piece of equipment. Maybe we can figure out something. So what exactly are you looking to do? So I basically just told him, I said, look, man, I work with a missing people's group, and we have a few cases where people are missing, and I need a GPR unit to scan the ground, blah, 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 blah. And he was just like, oh, wow, and we talked for 30, 40 minutes, and he said, he goes, yeah, let me see what I can do. We'll work something out, And I said, I'm not asking to get one for free. I'm more than willing to pay for the rental. I said, I just need one. And I'm trying to get it lined up where we got multiple cases going on at once, and we can do all this at one time. And he said, let me get you in the system, give me a few days and I'll get back with you. So I think it was about a week later, another gentleman called me, and he was talking to the guy, and he's like, hey, man, he goes, I'm just going to let you know this is what the situation is. He goes, since COVID, he said, all the people that make the GPR units are having problems getting parts, the software, the screens. And he said, everybody that's renting these things from our rental company, he said, they're not returning them. They are choosing the option to buy them outright. He goes, so they rent them and then they just buy them outright because people could not get them. And he said, the problem we're having now is I cannot replenish what we are selling to keep our rental fleet full of rental units. And he goes, it's actually starting to hurt us. So that's why, at that time period, we never got one. Yes, there is used ones all over eBay. I buy stuff off the auctions all the time, and I search the auctions all the time for GPR units, and they are never on legitimate auctions like Auction Time and Proxy Bid and Purple Wave, all the, main equipments, places that people do auction stuff, Ritchie
Mhm.
Brothers. Um, but yes, I have reached out to a company that makes them. Um, it really is, compared to the normal price, it is an affordable unit. Um, but if you try to hire somebody to come in, I mean, we're talking hundreds upon hundreds of dollars an hour, $200, $300 an hour for this service. 8 hour minimum. You're talking 2,500, 3,000 a day for someone to come out and do this type of service. It's not cheap because the equipment costs money, the expertise in doing it. And this is something that I've discussed with Dennis and Dan and everybody is at my place, unfortunately, I've had some cows die and I've had to bury them, and I know where they're buried at. On my property, there was a school in the 1800s. I know where the foundation is to the school and stuff. So we have so many opportunities here once we acquire one to start learning what we're looking for, and not just showing up blindly at somebody's house, be like, yeah, we're going to go out and walk your field here and see what we can find. I mean, we have the opportunities, the situation here to learn how to use it, to identify, to tell the difference between soil that's been touched, exhumed, put back versus soil that's never been dug up. I have animals that are buried. I have calves. I have a full blown cow that passed away the year before last. So, the foundation of the building, we have so many opportunities to learn and practice before we actually ever go out and attempt to use it, that, one of these days we'll be able to, move forward. Sorry, I didn't mean to drag on for too long. I have to catch back up here.
No, it's below the ground. Is the 1900 century school still on your property, or is it just the foundation underground?
Oh, wow. According to New York State Museum, GPR was invented in the 1930s as a tool for measuring the thickness of glaciers.
Are you sure you're not talking about murky waters, Natasha?
Murky waters?
Yeah, there's a team called Murky Waters, not more Muddy Waters. Real quick, while Dennis or Grandpa over there is still reading, he doesn't have his bifocals on. For those who may be in the Georgia area, there is an active Amber Alert for 2 children that were abducted by 2 women.
So Samantha says, do you guys actually get new leads on Randy's case? Yes, a couple months ago we did.
Yep.
It was pretty crazy. I really don't know what to say about it.
An interesting tip.
It's a very interesting tip. Um, it was post party timeline, and definitely was very promising. At the moment, it is just kind of there. It's not going anywhere one way or another, unfortunately. And I wish it would. I wish things were different and we could move forward on it because it was so promising.
Yeah, everything pointed towards that.
But it definitely puts Randy alive well after the day he went missing for quite some time. I thought Dan's pizza pockets were done. So I don't know. We'll just see. We'll just see where it goes someday. Maybe things will change, and we will be able to move forward on it. I don't know. We'll just see. Oh, Natasha made beans for dinner. What do we need to move forward? That is not on our part. That is on the person who came to us with the lead. It's not in our hands at this point. It's all in their court. So, and we've had a couple situations with stuff over the last few years that everything just seems so promising, and then just poof, you know. And it's I don't know. But as Dennis says, you know, we have, you know, a book of locations on Randy's case. It's all about getting permission, getting people to back, getting people, you know, just because you look up something and it says this is the owner, it doesn't necessarily mean they're the owner. The owner is more than likely the person on the tax roll that owns the property that's paying the taxes on it. They're the ones that we need to get the permission from. You know, I don't know. So, but you know, we've had quite a few. We've really found some odd things in Randy's case. That's, you know, that we've figured out. Some pretty mind-blowing things on some properties and who owns them and who they were related to at one time. But it's just, will we ever get the answer?
Yeah, I think it will, all in due time.
Yeah. Jen has done some incredible work, you know, with her maps. Everything that she has done and organized. I mean, incredible work. Sorry, I'm catching back up here. I don't have my close-up glasses on.
I'm surprised your medicine hasn't kicked in yet.
It's getting there. I am getting tired. So, but so yeah. So, is anybody else in the audience have anything they want to ask or discuss real quick? So yeah, I mean, Dennis says, let's ask again, what's everyone's thoughts on their number one theory in Randy's case? You know, we got a few more minutes here, so, you know.
Samantha, hang on. Let me mark these down. Hang on. Hey, wait. Don't put no more. We're gonna take a poll. Let me get a piece of paper here. Where's my notebook at? Oh, there it is. All right. Okay, we got accident. Okay, go ahead. We got one for accident.
One for accident.
Hunter, Dennis is a little old and preoccupied. Could you help us out a little bit? Accident. That's 2 accidents. Inside job. Hang on. True crime. Oh, wait, slow down. Okay, feels like an accident. That's 3 accidents. Tamara, 4 accidents.
I mean, my thoughts was, and this is how I've always looked at it. You know, there was so much information out there that the rivers and the creeks were so low. We were in a drought. You know, I've just always looked at it that was just. I'm not saying he couldn't have gone off in a pond if he would have drove off somewhere out of town. I'm not saying that, but if it was in any of the local creeks, Stranger Creek, anything, the Kansas River, anything right there, I just don't think that's how it happened. Just because the amount of people that were supposedly out looking, either by car, by horses, 3-wheelers, dirt bikes,
drove into a portal.
A portal. I have not heard that yet.
Tamir. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and say mine. Unfortunately, I'm with
Na 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 na.
As much as I like the new detective right now, and I know he's working hard on this case, if I were to go by the previous investigators handling this case, I'm going with Grape Ape.
That's where you're going?
Yep.
You know, I've always thought that something had to have happened. If Randy was so good about being home on time and everything, in my mind, I always thought that something had to have happened around 11:30, 12 o'clock. Because some way, somehow, Randy knew he had to be home. And that's, to me, that's when it had to have happened, because he didn't ask to use a phone to call.
Oh, wait, we got 2 homicides. Oh, 3 homicides. I didn't see Mark's. Sorry, Mark. I didn't see yours. Go ahead.
Just thinking that if he knew he could call home and say, "Hey, I'm going to be late," or "I've had too many beers, come pick me up," he would have done that. And there's never been no one ever saying that Randy was in the house trying to get to a phone to call his mom and dad. So I've always gone back to something had to have happened between 11:30 and 12, that if he had to be home at 12:30, he was only
Okay, so hang on, let me go back.
Okay.
Samantha, why wouldn't anyone talk? Because people keep disappearing when they talk about Randy's case. That's why. There is a difference between us and these other people, though. We're a little crazier. We don't take threats kindly. Threats don't scare us. Ask Dennis. He got a nice one. Quite a few people, Samantha.
I think Natasha doesn't understand exactly who Grape Ape Leanne is. So, Grape Ape Leanne was at the party. She was good friends with Randy. She was in Randy's graduating class. So, that is the connection between Grape Ape / Leanne. So, Natasha, that's who Grape Ape Leanne is, so you understand.
Okay, so who's ready for the tally? Did everybody get their vote in? Dennis, what's yours? People involved in the case. Yeah, the threats ain't from Randy's case. From a different case. Yeah, right there. Lisa just put it. Does anybody else have any theories? We need one more person to give a theory to break the tie.
You know what I think, Dan.
Hang on. Okay. Dennis, you didn't help with that. Alex, what's yours? He just added another page to it.
Mine is along
With Dennis?
with Dennis. Sorry.
Okay, so
I don't think I think he left that night. I think he left. He left.
oh wait, we got a new one. Heidi. Okay. Is that all, everybody in the chat?
I think it says we got 35 people.
Hang on. 5, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We're missing 11 people. Okay, so as of right now, if nobody else has got, how did you type that in? I didn't even see your hands move.
I'm typing on my keyboard
Oh,
because I'm on my phone doing StreamYard, but I've got my computer on in the back.
oh, okay. I was like, dang, that was talented.
Yeah, I can't. I've got all kinds of people texting me and sending me messages, and I can't look at any of them because if I look at any of them on my phone, it'll kick me out of StreamYard.
Mm-hmm.
So I will try to answer everybody when we're done.
Yeah, he's typing with his brain. Yeah, right. It his brain is in La La Land. He's ready to go night nights. Okay, so as of right now, we got 5 people that say it was an accident. 1 person that says it's an inside job. 6 people that say it's a homicide. And 2 people that believe he left on his own.
Well, I mean, as most of you all know, we will never stop looking for Randy. We will never stop investigating.
Nope.
Um, and just so everybody knows, once again, this was not a video to point fingers or stir up anything. You know, people had brought this to our attention. We are doing our duty to answer these people, and we just want people to know what we know.
Yes.
And according to law enforcement, that the phone calls were made that Randy's case is still listed as a missing persons case.
Yes.
Like we said, we don't know the exact person that made the flyer, but anything like that, we're not trying to slander anybody.
No.
It is public information. It's on social media,
Yes.
But we're just, we're just trying to understand and help other people understand because, people are confused to what's going on. Did they find Randy? Did they find his car? Well, no. Well, why is this? Why is this being said? This? Why is this? So, that's what this was about tonight. Was
to make sure everybody knows the actual facts.
And I had somebody say, "Well, why is this breaking news?" Well, I mean, the flyers have said missing person since 1988 till this past week. That's breaking news. Why would it not be some type of breaking news for the flyers to be switched and to try to understand why they've been switched or what's going on? So, we'll just keep marching forward. We'll keep doing stuff. I hope everybody else continues to, work along the case and everybody that, there's quite a few people that's in here right now in the chat that, that we talk with weekly and daily sometimes about Randy stuff. So, don't ever stop. Don't ever stop, trying to help one way or another, and if you can share the video, the likes, the shares, everything. And I get on there and I post like this video. I did post it as many places as I could today. And probably 20 to 25 of them had to be approved. And I don't even know if they were even approved. So those people are going to come.
Hey, they were approved because my Facebook page was filled with Alex's post.
Yeah. But all we can say is please don't ever give up. Don't ever give up on Randy. And I've said it before, Randy is still 17 years old. You know, Randy never got to be a dad. Randy never got to be an uncle. You know, Alberta and Harold never got to be grandparents. You know, so um, just don't ever give up. You know, don't ever give up on any case that you, the viewer, you know, one of our fellow, you know, people that join us, um, whatever case you're working on, um, just don't ever give up. Just don't ever give up on that. So, um, upcoming weeks, do not forget we have the Halloween costume dress up show coming up. And I believe that we are going to send out the link that if you would like to come on and join us, it's going to be a fun night. We're going to dress up. Um, if you want to come on and join us on the show, just like we participate, we're going to send the link. Please join in. I'm not reading comments. I don't know what's going on here. I can see something's going on.
No, I just had a thought in my head for Dennis and Megan's costume now.
What's that?
Dennis is going to be in a jumpsuit and Megan's going to be in a
warden?
Yep.
But yeah, you know, please.
Yes, Jackie, we do not know if he is deceased. His case is still a missing persons case. It is not a homicide case.
Yeah, for sure. So, once again, you know, please don't forget to join us on the Halloween costume special. We're going to have a giveaway. So, please join in. You might win something. You know, it's been a while since we have done any type of giveaways. So, maybe we'll do some shirts, some t-shirts, some sweatshirts. Might even do a big item. So, but anyway.
Dennis's hat.
What now?
Dennis's hat. I mean, Dennis totally ignored my comment.
I don't even know what's going on here. When is the costume party? So the costume party is, let me see, is it next? It is next, is it next Sunday or Saturday?
Dennis, what
day was the costume party?
I thought about that. When's the costume party, Dennis?
Saturday the 21st, so next Saturday, 7:30 p.m.
Central Time.
I think Dan is supposed to make us a flyer for it. I think.
You know, I totally forgot about that with all these damn Amber Alerts going on.
I know. You're a busy man. So, but just once again, you know, thank you to everybody that showed up tonight. Dennis, I believe, is on lockdown. That's why he could not be with us tonight. Just joking. But yes, please try, you know, to join us for that party. We will send out the public link. If you want to jump on with us and talk, we're just going to have fun that night. We're going to have fun. We're going to talk. We're going to joke, laugh, cut up. You know, like I said, we're all going to dress up. So we're asking you.
We may have to take this StreamYard down to the Google headquarters if everybody's going to jump in here.
What do you mean?
The internet being able to handle everybody jumping in the live stream, or are we doing it one at a time?
I I don't know. I can't remember how many people can be on once on StreamYard. Dennis or Jen. Maybe Jen can answer that. I've seen some other people have, like, I swear, like 10, 12 people on at one time on StreamYard.
I know on TikTok I can have 10 people, 9 people, something like that.
Up one at a time. Natasha says 4 at once.
Okay, so it's one at a time to dress up for the contest so everybody could see.
Yeah. Oh, unless we're a paid StreamYard. Jen says think up to 10. Dennis says we can have up to 10 on StreamYard. But hey, join us, dress up. We're going to do some giveaways. We'll probably do a judging, something like that. So it'll be a good time next week. So anything else, Dan?
Anybody know the winning lotto numbers?
I don't think so, Dan.
Yeah, me neither.
Well,
hey, is the psychic still in here?
I don't think so, buddy. I think she's gone.
Man.
So, well, thank you everybody for joining in tonight. You know, please don't forget to like and share. It does help. We greatly appreciate it. We greatly appreciate each one of you joining in tonight. It does mean the world to us for you all to join us and talk with us. I know the last month and a half, we have been busy and haven't been on as much as usual. So I apologize. I know, it's just been crazy busy. So, but thank you everybody. And, we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye. Oh, sure. The psychic jumped